and joining, the one also who are joining us via the WebEx. Welcome you as well to the online participation in this meeting. And welcome to this session panel with inspiring speakers and active participants. So why we are gathered here? As it was noted by Peter Diamandis from XPRIZE Foundation some time ago, he said AI probably is the most important technology we have created. It promises to bring changes and in every aspect of our life, and government is not an exception. So nowadays, in a time of fast-changing technologies, user habits, and efficiency, pressures government and public service are in constant pressure and to perform better. And linear approaches to e-government is not enough anymore. So we need some next-level approaches, and cognitive technologies, AI, offer some next-level tools which we can apply in different aspects in how public sector works. For example, as chatbots, multilingual content, accessibility, or road safety. You mentioned AI can provide tools in different aspects and innovate government in different aspects, how government performs. And government also owns a huge amount of data that can be used for that. So that's about our panel here today, to look on the potential of AI in government sector and how it is already applied in government sector in different aspects. So how we will approach this subject today? Important aspect that was mentioned already and stressed yesterday in opening keynotes was partnership. Partnership is essential. Industry, government, academia, and others shall work together to fully uncover the potential. So for that reason, we also have a truly multi-stakeholder panel here today. During this panel today, we will cover such aspects as AI and public service delivery from government perspective. Then it will be followed by insight to multi-stakeholder framework of cooperation, how to connect the dots, an example approach, how cooperation between academia, industry, and government can be made and created. And then it will be followed by 2 use cases of AI application in public service delivery and government. So finally, I'm pleased to introduce the distinguished participants of our panel. Ladies first, Dr. Signe Bāliņa, President of Latvian ICT Association, Mr. Edmunds Beļskis, Deputy State Secretary of Ministry responsible for Digital Government and Information Society, State CIO in Latvia, Dr. Andrei Vasiljevs, Board Member of European Language Resource Association and CIO of leading European language technology company Tilde, and Mr. Aigars Jaundalders, Member of the Board and Chief Digital Officer at Squalio Cloud Consulting. So structure of the panel, we will have 4 interventions from our speakers covering the aspects already mentioned, which will be followed by Q&A session. So questions and discussions are very welcomed. And also online participants, we encourage you to use opportunity and pose your questions in WebEx. And your voice will be catched by my colleague Elsa. And we will discuss these questions in our Q&A session. So we are looking forward for interesting panel, presentation, discussions. Let's begin, and let's start with Mr. Edmunds Beļskis.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, ICT professionals, governmental and public sector representatives. As was mentioned in the beginning, it is important when we use artificial intelligence, not only in the private sector, we can see a lot of examples, but also the government organizations and especially e-governance must use these technologies to serve more better services for our citizens. And citizens, as well citizens with special needs, are a specific area to focus on to make this life unique for all parts of society. So to establish and improve artificial intelligence technologies, it's important to have also some preconditions. If we speak about Latvia, we have excellent preconditions to move forward after digitalizing paperwork, which is done in several countries. So the infrastructure is very important, and internet access, Wi-Fi access everywhere, as well habits of citizens using new technologies. For example, in OECD countries, the latest survey shows that our country takes second place using broadband mobile data. So the next important aspect is how the society is ready for new technologies, how population interact with the government. Not only we see, not only in the private sector, we have approximately 98% bank transfer made by internet banking technologies, but also how the citizens use public services and how they operate with e-services online. As well, legislative framework which oblige governmental and public service and municipal organizations interact with the citizens by electronic means. As well, the third important aspect is maturity of ICT industry, both in private and the governmental ICT industry, how they are able to use possibilities of new technologies, as well big data, artificial intelligence technologies, and how the industry develops. Next, please. The latest e-benchmark surveys in Europe shows position from different EU countries concerning e-governance, and during this analysis was identified that it's not enough to just make electronically existing procedures from transfer from the paper to digital means. It needs absolutely new approach, providing, using existing data, existing knowledge from the government to make a more effective services for citizens. So the second aspect is the policy, at least in my country, that the public service must be as much small and as much cheap, as much effective. So that means that we have to decrease number of people, we have to decrease front office workers, and we need a new challenges and new technologies to provide the same level and better level with a smaller amount of persons. Next, please. So, next level for public service, we see it's the ecosystem and new approaches and techniques which can be used. And the first one is a proactive delivery. Customer care will move from today's one-size-fits-all model to an increasingly customized one based on organizational design and specific customer preferred. So we put the customer in the center of all interaction with the governmental services. Best contact with the government is no contact. So the government approach the citizen, provides necessary service, sometimes without any interaction from the citizen and requesting any services. Human and machine integration is very important, and we see there is some historical background where public service providers, public servants sometimes need to be challenged to be more innovative and attractive, exploring new technologies. Of course, user-driven service design and co-creation needs more and more involvement of citizens in specific public service deliveries and designing public services. And how can we do? Agile for the public services innovative approach. Sometimes we have to understand that public service and designing the services can make mistakes, and we have to acknowledge that, but we have to move on and provide step-by-step based approach, piloting projects where the artificial intelligence technologies is used for public services. And innovation as a function must be implemented in the heads of the public servants and people responsible for delivery and improvement of public services. How the artificial intelligence can help? There is a lot of added values. How can we improve our performance from the government to the citizens? It's availability of services. It's a multilingual possibility to serve citizens and other parts of society. I mean, in broader context of European Union and global scale, cross-border services, which needs to serve not only in the main languages, but also the small languages are also needed services to be available for these people in their native languages. Of course, speed of response time for the services. We don't need hours or days for response of citizen requests. Speaking about artificial intelligence, for example, Google AlphaGo IQ was after the researchers from China, Feng Li, Yongxi, and Jing Li, they identified that existing IQ for this program is 4728 points. And if we compare to the 6-year-old child, which IQ is 55.5, that means that artificial intelligence is growing, and ability of artificial intelligence technology is enormous. And for example, in 40 days, this program taught herself and improved and become the smartest player of the Go game. So we always speak about employment, unemployment, and how this technology will replace or help us provide services to the public. And if we compare 2817 first year and 2011, the proportion from proportion between caring professions and muscle power workers dramatically changed. And we see that digital care channels share will grow, and the probability of 77% of repetitive and predictable roles will be automated. So we don't need only the replacement policy, especially in the government or some services like investigation, medicine, but also approach and technologies relieve, split, and augment should be exploited to make as much as possible and as much as effective artificial intelligence usage in public service. And according to Deloitte and Gartner research, artificial intelligence will create more jobs than destroy. Of course, we need a new level of training. We need new level of governmental interaction with possible retraining of citizens. So putting bots in a service of e-government, we see main areas where we can go further with the development. One is a machine translation technology, which integrates different public services, as well securely translate text, documents, and website with accuracy, speed, and quality. The second one is virtual assistant platforms, which is developing very fast, and developing this virtual assistant platforms. We see that the customer support, search assistant, user authentication, and different other technologies can be functionalities can be used. So virtual assistants provide some kind of humanity for machines with a social and emotional intelligence speaking to the customers. But the background of this nice virtual assistant platform is a big and huge work done by the machines. So from the theory to practice, or main enterprise register company, which is responsible for registering all private as well governmental institutions, started the project that customers will be served and supported by virtual assistant, and taking into account that approximately 40% of different company registration procedures are done only in digital means. That means entrepreneurs don't need anymore come to the office. They do everything via internet. The next step of service and quality, the virtual assistant will provide these opportunities. So what the government can do, in Latvia we developed so-called data-driven nation concept, which will be in detail described by my colleague in later presentation. So, but in general, what data from the government, from the different governmental agencies can be used, so providing more accessible and more friendly public services, the innovative way how to respond to the requests of the citizens using different parts of databases, which is available to the government, and of course assisting in everyday needs of citizens and public servants to speed up necessary procedures. So data-driven nation is based on three main pillars: the government, the cooperation between private and governmental bodies, as well innovative pillar where all these first two pillars with citizen engagement and public opening data will create innovative products. So how can we use technologies and methods to create the best results in public service? And this is a McKinsey framework how government can use step by step identifying the best practice and ending with open culture and organization. Theory can be supported by the practice. For example, for the use case where we find the best possible player on the governmental side, for example, this enterprise register, we took this company as an example in cooperation with our private company Tilda. They have a project to develop this virtual assistant. Then a data ecosystem needed, and data ecosystem requires cooperation and accessibility of data. And as example, we can mention this data-driven nation concept is an ecosystem for this data, availability of data, and how this data will be used more effectively. Then technology and tools. Know how can we how can we build this ecosystem for cooperation between partners from the government, academia, and industry side? We signed the cooperation agreement between my ministry, which is responsible for governmental issues, and the industry represented by the association, as well with academia. So, and flow work integration, we integrate those activities in specific organization. Artificial intelligence is widely used for forestry as well for car register in Latvia. So some practical examples. And summarizing everything together, we build an ecosystem and open culture for society. And society, we understand government, public sector, as well private sector and industry. So the future, near future for application of artificial intelligence, We are looking for regional development, different aspects. How can we use artificial intelligence for regional planning? Of course, education and testing, where specific tests can be provided based on different technologies. Public procurement control systems as well. Of course, transportation organization system is already used, and my colleague will tell more in detail. And of course, justice and court procedures, which is very sensitive, but some processes can be delivered also for machines. So we treat that machines are our friends, and I hope we will manage that for the near and far future. So we trust in technologies, and we provide technologies to public service, and public service improves the performance for our citizens. And at the end, we have a homepage, and if you like Latvia, we of course like you. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Mr. Edmunds Belskis. So now let me pass the word to Dr. Signe Bāliņa. She's the president of Latvian ICT Association, also advisor to the Minister of ICT Matters, and associate professor in University of Latvia, and one of the rare gems, lady on ICT. So Ms. Signe Bāliņa will give insight on how to connect the dots, how academia, industry, and government can jointly collaborate to foster data-based innovation. Please.
Thank you, Gatis. Thank you. Dear ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, it's my great pleasure to be here today and to share with you our Latvian vision about Latvia as data-driven nation. It was more than 1 year ago when we came together, ICT industry, academia, and state institutions, and the aim was first to fully understand the current status, where are the strengths of the industry, what are the strengths of our researchers, and the second aim was, what are the future tendencies in technological development all around the world, and what we can do in Latvia, what is our strengths. There was a good cooperation between industry and academia and research institutions, but the next question was how it is with cooperation among industry and academia players who are interested in collaboration with state, and what is the vision of the state. We realized all together that data has become the new oil, as new currency, and there is a need to be transformed the data as income base for ICT industry, other smart specialization industries, and also for the state, of course. And we started together, and still we are working on auditing amount of information and data that state owns. Are they publicly available or closed? And is there any demand for one or another data set? Finally, we define a common vision that Latvia will be the data-driven nation. And in December last year, Latvian ICT Association and the government signed a cooperation memorandum with the aspiration for Latvia to become data-driven nation. And we agreed upon the concept of data-driven goals, its 3 pillars, and the common goals in the process of digital transformation of Latvia and development of the country as a whole. The major goals of the memorandum of cooperation are to strengthen the development of the Latvian ICT industry and its export, to use the opportunities provided by the industry for the growth of Latvian economy, as well as to achieve full potential of digital government according to the requirements of modern society and economics, and also, of course, to increase the competitiveness of the country. And we base our strategy on the unique moment and the opportunities that the 4th industrial revolutions provides for a small, smart, and flexible country like Latvia. And the 3 pillars are: the first is data democracy and accessibility. It is the basis for a more transparent public governance process, for more active public participation in decision-making process, for the development of new innovative business models and for the higher quality of public sector and also business decision-making processes. The second pillar is data-enabled citizen engagement. It is very important that the access through transparent and perceptible information about the public sector decisions, activities and results, and it is something like foundation for civic participation and citizen engagement in the public decision-making processes. And the third pillar, what is very important for the industry, is data-driven innovations and innovative data commercialization based on global technology development tendencies and opportunities. And this data-driven innovation, we look to this as an instrument to strengthen countries' competitiveness and the export capacity of high-value added products. So government decided to step in, and we work all together, government, industry, and academia, for mutual benefits for all of us. And in Latvia, we are looking to growth of ICT industry and science with goal to create new innovative products and services that can be used in private sector and of course also in public sector. And we are also looking, as also Mr. Belskis told in his presentation, that we are looking to public e-governance projects that they are not only for better public governance, but also become innovation platform and launching pad for the implementation of innovative technologies, projects with high commercialization and export potential in the future. Thus, the capacity of Latvian science, the technological competence of ICT sector and competitiveness will be stimulated in line with the global technology development tendencies such as big data, machine learning, robotics, and other areas, where Latvia has already demonstrated strong capabilities. Such approach allows for new development opportunities both in IT as well as in other industry. And in order to make the synergy more evolving, we as an industry work together with different state institutions and ministries, including of course also Ministry of Economics, and ICT industry are focusing in collaboration with other smart specializations industries in Latvia, and government supports entrepreneurs and helps them test their products. Yeah, as I mentioned before, states, organizations becomes as a launchpad. And we help to test virtual librarian that can be developed as virtual agent that can help people to orient in state e-services. We develop in Latvia innovation platform as a framework for new innovative developments. And we tested the idea of our platform last summer when we all, industry, academia, and government, visited Microsoft headquarters in Redmond in States. As a result, the decision was made that in Latvia will be the first in Baltic and Nordic states Microsoft Innovation Center. The Innovation Center is a cooperation project between University of Latvia and Microsoft, and the ICT industry and innovations are really important in Latvia. Back, please. Therefore, center was opened by President in Latvia. You can see in this picture this September, and he said that it is impossible to be part of labor market if you are not educated in ICT. And world's economic is changing. All traditional economic branch is being replaced with new ones connected with ICT and its usage. The mission of our Innovation Center is to, next please, is to enable and promote digital transformation and development of innovative solutions in Latvia by establishing an open space where industry professionals, public sector representatives, students, researchers, entrepreneurs, and of course also experts from the industry can engage and work together. And this digital transformation, it is not something like meat. This is reality, and we need to work together to be competitive and mark ourselves on global economic map. The main idea of Innovation Center is share instead of one-man effort. And in Innovation Center, science is accessible for business and helps solving society matters. And all new trends, machine learning, big data, artificial intelligence, exit from the research labs. And democratization allows us to use the best of the results from our researchers to put this in the business solutions. And all of us have our specific education, life and work experience, hobbies, and knowledge gained from social groups and engagements. We all are experts of certain topics, and what makes co-working so productive? Next, please. Innovation Center is a workplace to engage decision makers, students, developers, to engage and think together for the best solutions. Innovation Center is a place to validate our ideas and search for best technological solutions and share the results. My colleagues, Igors and Andres, you can see them here, and you can see also in the picture. My colleagues will continue about innovative ideas that their companies created and developed in cooperation with researchers. I would like to say thank you. This is our drive into the future. Thank you.
Thank you to Ms. Dr. Signe Baliņa, and now we will go to the more practical part of our session, and the next speaker will be Igors Jaundalders, member of the board and chief digital officer at Squalio Cloud Consulting. Mr. Jaundalders himself has more than 18 years of experience in ICT industry, and his approach is to explore new technologies and capabilities, keeping hands-on attitude. So he's still active developer and interested in aspects of machine learning, classical cryptography to quantum physics. So Mr. Jaundalders will speak on beneficial AI for efficient public services. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Gatis. Framework is nice. It's necessary, it's required, but it's not the end goal, obviously, and it's a great honor for me here today to tell you some real-life examples what's been cooking within this framework, of this hotbed of innovation we've created in Latvia. Some of these examples you will see are already in production, some are in pilot phases, some are in the active discussion phase, but all of them address at least, I would say, two roles AI can play in the public service space. Next, please. Next, please. And next, please. So on one hand side, it's automation. Edmond's already mentioned, yes, snail can travel 100 miles, but obviously Formula One or NASCAR for our friends across the ocean are much better means to achieve the goal of transporting yourself across. And the other area, the way how we look in Latvia at AI is hyper-personalization. If you remember old times of old good CRT screens in front of you with really nice 600 by 400 resolution, and basically you were seeing some blob, and all you could do, you know, what you saw, and you could do just that much. Versus true 8K high resolution where you can see every single bit and pixel in there and address each individually. Next, please. So one area in very special for Latvia is AI-enabled identity. Latvia is unique in terms that Latvia has created a unified essential biometrics database, and the whole idea is that I am who I am, not because I carry some document or some basically any physical form factor, but I am who I am because I am Igors. And we think that physical IDs and any form factors are outdated, basically remnants of old centuries. And the whole idea is to enable citizens to receive services regardless of any form factor, physical form factor they previously had to carry around, like in the form of ID card or smartphone with some app on it, and etc. Next, please. And just to hint, some of the areas we've been working on in that regard is e-voting, and here I would specifically want to stress E, not I. Driver license, a lot of countries are working on replacing driver licenses with smartphone app, but why would we need any form factor at the end of the day? Health, today in Latvian hospitals, if a person is admitted in emergency room, this person can be identified using biometrics and AI behind the scenes. And obviously in-person public services where you had to present previously passport or any form of physical identification. Next, please. The other area or application, rather, I would say, is transportation. Transportation is a bloodline of any modern economy, and obviously the sometimes controversial goals of efficiency, safety, security, and mobility pose quite a challenge for many countries, and with the question how to balance all of these goals simultaneously. And again, to hint you some of the, next please, areas how we are working in real life on the streets of Latvia using AI to address these goals is, for example, to detect and assist traffic flows for people with special needs, detect and enforce public transport priority lanes, and enforce personalized speed limits for specific contexts like taxis or buses, school buses, in a way that previously was simply impossible for vendors of industrial sensors of old ages, I would say, where AI today can present entirely different possibilities for city planning, safety, and security of transportation. And you probably saw word beneficial at the title of my slide deck, and I would like to show you a short video from project in Latvia, which is really in production. And I will later tell you why this represents, in my opinion, this whole idea of beneficial AI. Next, please. There should be audio as well.
Every year, more than 1 million people die worldwide because of auto accidents. That's equal to half the population of Latvia. In Latvia alone, there are around 4,000 auto accidents and 157 deaths yearly. The top reason for these deaths? Speeding. This is Lauren. She was going fast. Today, she was running late. What if we could turn back time and save her? Since 2016, next-generation speed cameras with future intelligent transport systems have been installed throughout Latvia. The cameras detect speed limit violations and capture both photo and video evidence of the offending vehicle. From this moment, the Microsoft Cloud and built-in machine learning magic begins. First, an intelligent download mechanism sends the data to the cloud. Then, a proprietary deep neural network recognizes the vehicle type and its number plate. Afterwards, the information is pre-processed and sent off to a law enforcement agency. As a result, the entire workflow is fully automated. Thanks to Microsoft Azure, this process not only requires little human intervention, but also shortens a process that once took hours down to within a few seconds. But most importantly, this solution contributes to saving lives. Statistics prove that since their installation, there has been a 42% decrease in serious traffic accidents, a 21% decrease in injuries, and 0 deaths in the hotspots where speed cameras have been placed. Drive safe. Your future depends on it.
And I can share little secret actually. This video is a bit dated already. You probably saw some company names on it, and Signe mentioned visit to some company this summer, but we've just gathered the latest statistics, and what we are really proud of, that since the installation a year and a half ago, it's still zero speeding related deaths at the hotspots where these cameras are installed, and it's 70% reduction in serious accidents in these hotspots. You may also wonder why speed cameras, we've all seen them everywhere around the world basically. But as I mentioned, the unprecedented level of hyper-personalization AI brings to us, enables us to target specifically and contextually different types of vehicles, different types of traffic flows, like, as I mentioned before, taxis, buses, school buses, trucks. Previously, simply that was impossible to address. Next, please. But I also totally believe personally that, and I must be honest, we don't have a silver bullet and answer to all these questions. But as AI matures, I believe that we need to start thinking about how to apply AI in a truly beneficial way. And I would encourage you to see by yourself on the web, on the link mentioned on the slide deck, these principles of beneficial AI and how they could apply to every single project you undertake eventually, because it's far from simple to answer all these challenges in everyday applications. That's certainly what is on our priority list, and I hope that going forward we will build truly beneficial AI, not only in Latvia, but also across the globe. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Aigars. And now, least but not last, I will pass the word to Mr. Andrejs Vasiljevs, a board member of European Language Resource Association and CIO of leading European language technology company Tilde. Andrejs will speak about artificial intelligent powered language services which can be used and are used to provide public services. So please, Andrejs.
Good morning. Language is an essential part of our identity, of our intelligence and human-computer interaction. And this is why we focus on bringing language support in technologies and using the latest advancements in AI to make computers language savvy and language intelligent. And we work on techniques like neural machine translation, AI-powered natural language processing services, and virtual assistants and chatbots that can communicate with people cross-language manner and as close to human interaction as possible in dealing with new services and devices. Next, please. And, our company, Tilde, is a part of this active collaboration between private sector, academia, and public sector. And we are located in all three Baltic countries with a headquarters in Riga, and are active part of this research and industry collaboration, enabling languages with the latest advancements in technologies and AI developments. And why is it is so important? Because in Latvia, Latvia always has been in the crossroads of political, economical developments and the linguistic crossroads. And being a small language spoken by about 2 million people only, Latvian language was able to survive through millennia. And it's partly thanks to adaptation of new technologies for Latvian language. Yeah, next, please. we believe that it also exemplifies the challenge, but also opportunities in Europe and globally. And Europe is very rich in language diversity. There are 24 official languages in European Union. 80 languages are widely spoken in Europe by minority communities, regional languages, refugee languages. And from one side, people sometimes say, oh, it's a big problem and challenge, what can we do about that? But actually, we have to look to this diversity not as a problem, but an asset. It's a source of our cultural richness. And language is a way how we encapsulate human intelligence, and language diversity are many dimensions how to capture that intelligence. And the question is how to extract this intelligence from the language information and how to enable humans to communicate across these language borders. And we believe that in Latvia we have some examples what we can show to the rest of the world, how to bring advancements in big data, in artificial intelligence, how to put together many players so that this linguistic richness on this planet with about 7,000 languages spoken in this world could enable all communities to benefit from technological advancements. And now to some practical examples. And in particularly machine translation is a very efficient tool to cross the language barriers and access multilingual information. Machines cannot be as intelligent in translation as humans, but they can help to instantly get access to information. And when you need production or publication quality translation, when humans can post-edit and correct some parts that machines are not so good and do be more efficient in translation work. And in Latvia we use these techniques by providing machine translation as essential element in e-government service infrastructure. This platform, Hugo.lv, is a machine translation service platform what enables other e-government services to become multilingual, and that provide quality translation in a secure way that is able to translate all kind of formats and online information, documents and emails, and that is particularly adapted to the specifics and terminology of public services in Latvia. To bring the very latest advancements in neural MT, and actually I should say that neural network techniques is a paradigm change in many areas, and in machine translation in particular. And there is a huge wave of development in this area, and we are among the pioneers in applying these techniques. And during this year competition of the machine translation players around the world, we were happy to got the best result in machine translation for our machine translation system, beating other competitors like Google, Microsoft, and many research groups across the world. And this is because we are used to deal with linguistic complexities of smaller languages, and if you are able to cover complexities like of Latvian language, then similar features could be found in other languages as well. And that was exemplified again by the request of EU presidency. European Union every half a year has a particular country in charge of EU Council presidency to organize political agenda and many events in that country. And this second half of the year 2017, Estonia was in charge of EU presidency, and Estonian is even smaller language than Latvian, and in some aspects even more complex. And we obviously have to deal with language barriers, and we helped to apply neural MT with other techniques and to develop a machine translation system for EU presidency in Estonia. Next, please. that help both journalists to access local information, delegates to communicate with locals, to staff to deliver information as quick as possible, and professional translators to be much more efficient in their productivity of their work. Next, please. And it was also interesting that that brought attention to the top-level politicians who gathered at, in this case, at the Digital Summit in Europe. And sometimes politicians tend to accept the things how they are if they do not see any real solutions. And here, some of these politicians, for the first time, were able to see how AI can be immediately applied to very practical challenges. And in this picture, you see how Prime Minister of Greece, Mr. Tsipras, is learning about machine translation capabilities. And now the next EU Council presidency will be in Bulgaria, and then Austria will follow, and we also develop MT for these countries as well. Another area of application of artificial intelligence besides machine translation that we actively develop in Latvia are virtual assistants, what were already mentioned by Mr. Beiskis. And these virtual assistants could have different personalities and know-how, but to speed up this development, it's important to have the basic intelligence, the baseline platform that enables the basic functions in multiple languages, and in our case Latvian is very important, that these virtual assistants are able to communicate in local languages. And we have developed this virtual assistant platform on which our most popular assistant Laura is based. She has spoken with more than 300,000 people already on social media platforms and also mobile apps. And now we put those assistants in service for e-government to help to realize this vision of data-driven nation, to extract power of the data, of open data, of public data, in a way how people can easily access it by asking questions and getting answers from virtual assistant in a similar way how we can approach public service personnel. And that helps both to unleash the power of data, help people in their everyday needs, but also builds a different type of connection to services. They become more personalized, and also it creates some kind of emotional connection, because these assistants are friendly, adaptive, and personalized, and always willing to listen what you want to say. Maybe not always able to respond to your requests, but try to do their best. Another example of application of virtual assistants is in libraries, and we are particularly proud about National Library of Latvia, which had millions and millions of publications and records. And this virtual assistant shows how to again extract power of that information and help people to find the valuable publications and information what they need in library by simply chatting with virtual assistant in the same way how we do that with librarian. So these were examples how we make use AI to make it more inclusive and multilingual for the benefits of more inclusive services and more inclusive world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andres Vasilios. So with this, we conclude the presentation part of the session. And during the panel, we covered aspects as AI in public service delivery from a government perspective. So what we learned from that is if we treat properly the AI, it's not not a threat, but an opportunity for government, for different challenges, and that replacement is not the only strategy that is most widely discussed when we speak about government and AI applications. Then we spoke about example of approach of multi-stakeholder cooperation between academia, industry, and government. That cooperation, collaboration is essential to drive innovation in public sector, and as well it can serve the beneficial other way to the industry to create innovative products. And then we followed with practical use cases of AI applications in public service. We spoke about hyper-personalization, EID not dependent on documents, safety, security, and finally multilingual and assisted public services. So we have some time for questions as well. If there in the audience are some questions addressed to, yes? Okay.
Yes. Hello, this is Corinne Perset from the OECD. I had a question about the very interesting presentation on the speeding application that sent, of the speed radars that sent data about the car owner and license plate through the private cloud. And I was wondering whether concerns had been voiced among the local population about a private company having access to this personal data and information about infringements of the law. So I was wondering about that. Thank you.
Can I take it? Yeah, definitely privacy is a very key concern across not only in terms of AI domain, but in general, ICT in general. So yes, this solution deployed, it operates also compliant to GDPR, new upcoming regulation, and yes, there have been a lot of debate around how data in general should be treated within public services. Speaking about particular case, though, there is no data on vehicle owners traveling within this environment. It's something that legal law enforcement agencies cover after they get this pre-processed data from the private cloud. So basically the only data that travels through this infrastructure is what you can see normally on the street, license plate, car, what you see on the public street. There is no personal data in terms of vehicle owners, etc., etc. And even the decision whether or not it's speeding, it's made by law enforcement agencies when they receive data. So in that terms, it somehow limits the exposure to this whole concern. But yes, in general, security, privacy, in terms of AI, in the age of hyper-personalization, big data is a very key concern, and intrinsic part of beneficial AI movement I mentioned in my slide deck, which I'm afraid nobody has a complete answer to yet. It's still evolving field, not only in terms of technology, but also in terms of legal aspect of this. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. We can take one more brief question, if there is such. Okay, yeah, please.
Thank you very much. Sébastien Bachelet from France. First of all, I think I am very concerned that if the IGF is just to hear a classroom-style meeting, it's very bad. We can't have a real interaction with the participants. It's not what IGF is meant for. The second point is that, do you really think that it's with using a stick that you will help the end user, and especially the driver here in the presentation, to adopt AI or not to fear about AI? I am really concerned that the way the government is trying to use the AI, it's to get more money or to get a stick against the drivers. There are plenty of solutions to help the driver not to go higher than the speed limit in their car, in the relation between the car and the different component of the road system. But the only thing you show us here, it's how you will punish the driver. And if I am punished, I will not want to use EA, and I will struggle against EA. Then please think about that. You have users, you have drivers, and they don't like just the stick. They like to be help in what they do and not the reverse. And I am really concerned about that. Thank you.
I will try to comment about the stick from the public sector side. If we look to the government, and government have a different function, including control and inspection function for different areas. And in that case, if artificial intelligence can help provide necessary functions in more effective and user-friendly way, that is only, we can be proud of that. Of course, the interaction, government interaction with society must be based on win-win situation and with proactive movement. So we have different applications. For example, with machine translation and virtual assistant, there is different ways how can artificial intelligence can be exploited in a public sector, even for investigators, even in jails, everywhere can be used, and different public functions can be replaced. So yes, sometimes we need to use this technology also for inspection and control functions. And some comments from technology.
Just to add, with a purpose, we chose actually this controversial example, out of context actually example of stick from the carrot and stick example you mentioned. Though the same engine, the same technology can be used not only for punishing some action of somebody, but also to support city planning, traffic flow optimization. The also example I mentioned for people with special needs, their mobility requirements. So yes, it's controversial, specific example we mentioned here today, but no, it's not the only application of AI technology. This is just one out of context example mentioned, and we are happy to share. We are sorry really for the short time, obviously, the first issue you mentioned, but we definitely can continue this discussion if interested, and we can share more details about the thing.
Okay, so thank you for questions. Thank you, panelists. We conclude this session, and all the panelists are available now for discussions of the session. If you have some personal or in-depth questions, so you're welcome to approach and discuss them personally. So thank you, and goodbye.